Hey YouTube, James from the Wife and Watch here, and here with another deck profile. This is the last of the current decks that I've got that I haven't yet profiled on this channel. So this is World Chalice, as you can see from the title. Originally came out in Code of the Duelist and immediately grabbed everyone's attention because it was the first proper sort of link deck. And of course, the artwork being the artwork, I was immediately attracted to it and spent a fair amount of money on boxes and trying to get all the pieces together immediately and put the deck together. Now, I can't say it's ever been a particularly competitive one as a pure build, but it was really interesting to play because obviously it was all about getting as many material on the board as you can and obviously link them off and climb up the link ratings. But since that original sort of release, there was a few more little bits and pieces that made it a little bit more interesting. Obviously this one came out, which is IB, the World Chalice Justicar, which of course has just been recently released from the ban list. I assume another archetype has been obviously making use of it. I'm not sure which one if I'm totally honest. But the fact there's a combination of normal monsters as well was quite attractive to me. Just of something a little bit different. So we've got it's a pure build of World Chalice with a few little bits of support in there, of course. But without further ado, let's get on to it, and why not start with the normal monsters themselves. So I've got two chosen by the World Chalice, which is the level 3 psychic type, which obviously means it's an E-tally target, which I do play in this deck, but we'll get to the spells eventually. But obviously they're vanilla monsters, so they don't do anything. But I just thought, you know, when these were released, they're just brilliant artwork, aren't they? And they're all like this, and obviously they're different. They're all different types as well. So there's probably an argument for there can only be one as well. But I didn't want to restrict myself to that because obviously there's ways of bringing more than one of these out. So we've gone for 2 of those. We've also gone for 2 Beckoned of the World by the World Chalice, which is the Warrior level 4 version. You know, it's just given us more options to use with other cards that I've got for normal monsters as well. So there's 2 Beckoned, and just the 1 Crown by the World Chalice, which is the spellcaster type as well. But obviously they've all got the sort of link variants when we get to the extra deck as well. Another card that came out in Code of the Duelist, and a great support card for them, and I think this is really the chase card for the set because it was the one card that you were definitely going to play 3 of, is Lee the World Chalice Fairy. So if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 World Chalice monster from your deck to your hand, and if this card is in your graveyard, you can send 1 monster from the hand or field to the graveyard, add this card to your hand, and you can only use each effect each effect of Lee once per turn. So yeah, this, I don't think this has seen a reprint since either. I can't remember. I don't remember seeing one anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. But these are the original prints from Code of the Duelist, of course. So they were really tough to get hold of. I think they were probably the toughest, bar maybe the links. So 1 or 2 of the links anyway. But yes, 3 of those. And of course, the one that sells the archetype, in terms of artwork at least, is World Chalice Guard Dragon. How cute is he? Now obviously the Guard Dragon spin-off series had quite a few different cards, and obviously a lot of it went to the ban list as well. But this is the one that goes with World Chalice, so there's no reason not to play it. But when a card or effect is activated that targets your linked monster, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to negate the activation. And if you do, destroy the card. And then you can banish this card from the graveyard, then target 1 normal monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position to a zone a link monster points to. Which is a great addition because obviously we're just trying to load the graveyard with normal monsters. There's a few different monsters, different cards that will take advantage of that. So that's World Chalice Guard Dragon. And then of course, World Legacy World Chalice. So there's a lot of World Legacy stuff in here as well. But this is the one that sort of combines them all. This is the level 5 machine monster. Actually, this is one of the reprints from the OTS pack. Just bringing it up to super rare. I believe it was rare in the code of the duelist. But if a monster is special summoned from the extra deck, except during the damage step, you contribute this card. Send that monster to the graveyard. You can only use each of the following effects of World Legacy, World Chalice once per turn. And if this face-up normal summon set card leaves the field, you can special summon 2 World Chalice monsters from your deck. And then during the main phase, you can accept the turn this card was sent to the graveyard. You can banish this card from the graveyard and add World Legacy card from deck to hand. So I've made sure that obviously there are a few World Legacy cards in here that we can take advantage of that last effect on as well. Now the other part, well, one of the sort of support cards I should say is the Agent of Creation, Venus of course, because this is a very quick way of putting monsters on the field, but more to the point they are normal monsters. So let's put those on the field on here as well. So Mystical Shine Ball, of course, so it's literally just paying 500 life points to special summon one. Is it specifically? Yeah, Mystical Shine Ball from your deck or hand, but obviously it's not once per turn. So we thought we'd take advantage of that and get A, it's normal monsters, but B, obviously we're just getting monsters onto the field as soon as possible to go for the link summons. More support cards, we've got Exodius, the Ultimate Forbidden Lord, which is one you might not have thought about if you do run deck with normal monsters. But this card cannot be normal summoned or set, and this card cannot be special summoned except by returning all monsters on from your graveyard to your deck. When this card declares an attack, send one monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard. This card gains 1,000 attack for each normal monster in your graveyard. And when this card is removed from the field, remove it from play. And if there are 5 different, well, yeah, we're not using the Forbidden One pieces anyway. But yeah, it obviously throws everything from deck to the from the graveyard to the deck, and then sends one monster from hand or deck to the graveyard. So immediately you sort of reload in your deck with the monsters that you used already. But then obviously put them one back into the graveyard to use its effect, of course. So yeah, that's why I thought I'd just try that one out, to be honest with you. I'm not 100% sure about it, but we'll see. I was also lucky enough to pick these up relatively cheaply. I think they've come quite high in price since I got these. But this is Herald of the Orange Light. Obviously there's a few fairies in the deck, but when your opponent activates a monster quick effect, you can send this card and one other fairy monster from your hand to the graveyard to negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Fairly simple stuff, but obviously, like I say, we're running a few fairies, and if we are bricking at the moment, it's a good way of undoing that. Speaking of fairy support, we've also got one Arc Lord Christia in the original print secret rare, which is really pretty. But we know what Christia does, so that's fine. And last but not least, for the monsters, I had to run just one Rescue Ferret. Absolutely love this card. Probably again one you've not seen before, or maybe not come across it before, but you can shuffle this card you control into the deck, a special summon monsters from the deck, except Ferret, whose total levels equal 6. To your zone a link monster points to, but those summon monsters have their effects negated, also destroying during the end phase. That isn't too much of a problem if you're going for the normal summon. I imagine we'll go for Beckoned and Crowned by if those targets are available for Rescue Ferret. Excuse me. Right, on to spells then. So first of all, I've got just a few one-offs. So one Mind Control, one Monster Reborn, and one Scapegoat. This is all just to obviously have bodies on the board in which to go ahead and link summon or link line. Nothing really more to be said about those, all fairly simple stuff. And then a few 2-ofs. So we've got 2 Emergency Teleport, of course. The only target is the chosen by, that's right, chosen by the World Chalice. So I don't want to go too heavy on this, but I think 2 is right, because obviously you can, if you're probably only going to see 1, which means that if you might have drawn 1 chosen by it, and then you can obviously tally out the other one. We've also got 2 twin twisters, just to get rid of a bit of any back row issues. I still like to run a couple of back row removal if I still can and still have room for it. And of course, we're also running unexpected die. So if you control no monsters, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower normal monster from the deck. Again, fairly simple stuff, and obviously could get your plays moving. We're also running 2 sorry, this is the next series of cards, are all World Legacy cards. So this is World Legacy Succession. Target 1 monster in your graveyard, special summon to a zone a link monster points to. You can only activate 1 World Legacy Succession per turn. Fairly simple stuff. We've also gone for 1 World Legacy's Heart. So target 2 World Chalice monsters in your graveyard with different names, add them to your hand, and if a link monster would be destroyed by battle, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Again, nice to have it in the graveyard if and when it occurs. And 1, of course, World Legacy Guard Dragon. So when this card is activated, you can target 1 level 4 or lower dragon monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand, or special summon it. Once per turn, you can target 1 dragon monster you control, move that monster you control to another of your main monster zones. The zone movement isn't that important in this deck. I imagine it probably is in the Guard Dragon strategy, but it's more just about getting more bodies on the field, of course. And finally, for the World Legacy stuff, we've got 1 World Legacy's Sorrow. Again, the artwork's just cracking on that. Got a few of the different characters there, a little Guard Dragon right down at the bottom there. But yeah, when your opponent activates a spell or trap card or monster effect while you control a co-linked monster, negate the activation, and if you do destroy the card, you can only activate 1 Lego Sorrow once per turn. Obviously, it's a fairly niche one, because it's not always that you're going to have co-linked monsters, but that was the whole premise of the World Chalice deck, because obviously the co-linked stuff and getting the whatever you call it, all these link monsters all linked up and everything. I can't remember what they call it, U-Link or something like that. That was the sort of new rulings at the time, but nobody ever uses it anymore. Dimension Barrier, so obviously everyone's fairly familiar with that, but I just thought it's fairly prudent because obviously we're link summoning, and hope at the time that would obviously stop others from doing their business. Now that is the main deck. That's 41 cards in the main. And moving on to perhaps the more important extra decks. So obviously there is a lot of link monsters in here, but we'll start off with the Synchro. I've only got 1 of these. Well, it's obviously limited to 1 anyway, but we're not using it as the tuner sort of side of things, because I didn't want to turn it into a Synchro deck. But for this card, Synchro Summon, you can treat 1 World Chalice normal monster you control as a tuner, which is great because obviously it should be then easier to get out, potentially, depending on which ones you've got on the field. And then if this card is Synchro Summoned, you can add 1 World Legacy card from deck to hand. Obviously, it's another searcher for World Legacy cards. And if this Synchro Summon card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 World Chalice monster from your hand or deck. So again, there's no limits on which monster you can summon. So obviously, depending on which one you want to go for, that's a useful one. And like I say, I was very pleased to put that back in my deck after it's come off the ban list. The other one is World Chalice Guard Dragon Al-Maduk. So this requires 3 link monsters, but must first be either fusion summoned or special summoned from your extra deck by attributing the above card you control, in which case you do not use polymerization. So if we add 3 perhaps smaller link monsters, you can immediately go into this. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each, and when an attack is declared involving this card and an opponent's link monster, you can banish 1 link monster with the same link rating as the monster from your field or graveyard and destroy that opponent's monster. And if you do, inflict damage to opponent equal to its original attack. So, you know, if you've got a link 4 in there or something, then it could be quite potent. On to the links then. So obviously there are quite a few, just trying to remind myself on these. I've not updated this list for a little while. So if you were to build World Chalice, I would probably, and you wanted to make it more competitive, there are definitely other link monsters you can use in here. But this is sort of the list that I've had for a while, and all my other sort of more competitive link monsters, shall we say, are now in other decks. But yeah, they're quite easily transferable, of course, but this is just what I've got for the moment. So Lib, the World Key Blade Master. So you can only link someone while you have a World Legacy card in your graveyard. You can only use each of the following effects of Lib once per turn. During your main phase, you can set one World Legacy spell or trap card directly from your deck, but it cannot be activated this turn while you have no World Legacy monster in your graveyard. And if this link summon card is sent to the graveyard as link material, you can shuffle one card on the field to the deck, which is quite handy. We're then running 2 in Duke, the World Chalice Dragon, which of course is the sort of downgrade from Armaduke. I think they're all sort of tied in, and of course originated with the Guard Dragon itself. Just requires one normal monster except a token, so not too difficult on this. Obviously link 1. During the main phase, you can normal summon one World Chalice monster in addition to your normal summoner set. And at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster this card points to, you can destroy that opponent's monster. And if this card is sent from the field to graveyard, you can special summon one World Chalice monster from your hand. So an easy way of getting loads of monsters on the field once again. I've got one Link Spider on this one as well. In fairness, I think I've got an ultimate rare one that I can actually switch out for this. I didn't realise that. But yeah, there's one of those available. We've got an old one here, but this was quite popular just because it was a Link 2, but it's vanilla monster, of course, but it just requires 2 monsters. And it's just scaling up with the Scapegoat, using Scapegoat, and just obviously going up link climbing. A couple of standard ones, so I've got Phoenix and Cerberus. Phoenix, of course, my very much go to Link 2, and Cerberus on occasion comes in. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And then I've got Aurum, the World Chalice Blade Master. Again, upgrade from Chosen by the World Chalice. So this is 2 World Chalice monsters, gains 300 attack for each World Legacy card in your graveyard. World Legacy monster, sorry, in your graveyard with a different name. You can tribute one World Chalice monster this card points to, then target one other monster in your graveyard, special summon it to a zone this card points to. Then you can only use each effect of Aurum, the Blade Master, once per turn. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon one World Chalice monster from your hand. Sensing a recurring theme with the World Chalice Blink monsters, of course. Then also onto Ib, the World Chalice Priestess, which of course is the upgrade from Crowned by the World Chalice. So 2 monsters with different types and attributes to make this one. This linked card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Your opponent cannot target this linked card with card effects. If a monster this card points to will be destroyed by a card effect, you can send this card to the graveyard instead. And if this card is sent to the field or sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon one World Chalice monster from your hand, which of course is what the recurring theme is. Last 2, I've got one Ningirsu, the World Chalice Warrior, which a lot of people will be familiar with. This does get used in a few other archetypes as well. But if this card is link summoned, you can draw cards equal to the number of World Chalice monsters this card points to. You can only use the effect of Ningirsu, the World Chalice Warrior, once per turn. And then once per turn, you can send one card from each player's field to the graveyard. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon one World Chalice monster from your hand. So yeah, it's that middle effect that most people are using it for. So once per turn, you can send one card from each player's field to the graveyard, which I believe doesn't target as well. Yeah, I think that would say if it was going to target, so that's a nice spot removal there for if we need it. And last card, of course, is Saryuja Skull Dread. So this, well, we know what Saryuja does. I'm not going to read through all that, but that was the last card. But like I say, there's a few options in here that you could switch out for more powerful stuff if you really wanted to. But I just wanted to make sure I incorporate the World Chalice stuff as it is a World Chalice deck. Guys, that is it for the World Chalice deck profile. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me waffle on about another deck again. Like I say, this one was special to me because, like I say, it was really good fun putting this one together. I remember opening the boxes in Dead Universe Comics down in Aylesbury, and I went to see a couple of friends of mine, and then this set was basically just launched, and we were lucky enough to pull off a couple of boxes and got most of the components and been able to trade to get the rest of it. So yeah, it was really good fun. I don't see too many players of World Chalice, so I just thought it'd be nice for everyone to see how a basic one can potentially be built, and then you can go and adjust it from there. Guys, keep the likes coming, the subscribes, and of course the comments. Of course, the very, very important comments to me. We'll see you for the next profile. The next one will be a brand new one again, but it's not yet complete. And I'll probably just do a little bit of an update video on how we're getting on with that deck. Speak to you soon, guys. Cheers. Bye.